This is Paul, and welcome to another Cigar Advisor panel review. Joining me on today's panel are Pulo, Jared, and Ryan. So today, guys, we are going to be smoking the Toscano Brenta. You might be thinking, what the hell? Why are they smoking the Toscano? Right? Because they're generally machine made, dark fire cured. They're glove box cigars, in other words, right? But no, this one, the Brenta, is Toscano's first dark air cured tobacco. So this is a Toscano that needs to go into your humidor. It's made much in the same way that our premium cigars that we're used to are made. It's hand rolled, and this uses a unique tobacco variety, right? It's called Nostrano del Brenta, which is a Havana seed that's been grown in the Brenta Valley since 1515. Last thing I want to mention before we actually get into it is, well, number one, this is a Puro, so it's all wrapper, binder, filler, Nostrano del Brenta tobacco. And the second thing was I noticed in the marketing materials that they were mentioning dark air cured, right? Mm-hmm. This tobacco was dark air cured. And I know like premium tobaccos are air cured. So I did a little research. I went down the Google rabbit hole and I found out there's a difference. So dark air cured means the leaves in the barns are hung closer together, which is kind of a way of vertically fermenting them, right? And it's kept at a higher humidity. The barn is. It's dark, but darker than normal barns. And the leaves are cured longer. So this leads to a more robust leaf. And with that being said, I'm just going to open it up to the panel. Guys, what are your, have any impressions of this cigar initially or, anything that really stood out for you?
My first impression is how rustic this thing looks.
Yes,
it does look rustic.
So, not a surprise because it's coming from Toscano, and it's made. This is the style that they're used to making it. As you mentioned, the fire cured style, dry cured Toscano cigars, and those are delicious. But again, and this kind of strikes in between.
Yeah,
it's a veinier, kind of more rustic,
absolutely
rough edges, kind of looking leaf.
it's like old west kind of.
Yeah,
a little thicker,
but like this is one of the see yeah.
No, but
Listen, Bugsy,
Yeah.
double
you got a trifecta
that's-
on the horses.
That's the size.
Yeah.
That's the size.
Well, I think it mentioned that, this is a 4.14 by 56 ring. So it's a non-traditional size.
Yeah,
And I think some of the other perotis and cigars by this company, the dark fire cured, right? They're meant to be cut in half. So if you can imagine like putting two of these cigars end to end, it would be like one long, what cigar? The dark fire, your dark master series? Superiority.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Panel bails me out yet again. So
speaking of superiorities,
yeah,
this is for me the second watershed moment in cigars from this company. Because, well, before your time here, we took a little field trip. You remember going up to Scranton? So, they used to be in Scranton, but now they've moved all of their operations to the Dominican Republic. Back when they were still in Scranton, we took that field trip, and it was an amazing trip because I, like everybody else, had this, clouded view of what a machine made or a gas station cigar. I ended up smoking some of my favorite all-time cigars, and I'm not talking about like these aren't going to be up there with Padron. I'm just talking about stuff that you just want to smoke once in a while, just to smoke it for the sake of smoking it, and it's just enjoyable and easy going. And now they've gone and done it again with this because I said, Now they're trying to get into the handmade game, huh?
They've gone and done it again.
They've gone and done it again, and I was skeptical again, and then I lit this up, and I was like, "Well, fool me once, shame on you." But this time, it's shame on me because again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is cigar of the year, but damn if I'm not impressed.
Okay.
All right, Ryan, you had some interesting thoughts on the flavor profile of the Brenta. So why don't you let everyone out there know what you thought?
Now, right off the bat, you're going to find that sweetness right off the tip. It's really that natural sweetness. And you're also going to find some baking spice, some raisin. And I think Jared put it best when he said it is a almost cookie-esque profile. That's what you're going to find with this cigar.
And even, Steve Saka might give me kittens, or might have kittens for this, but it kind of reminds me of like Brulee, where there was that like is it sweetened? Is it not? There's that contention. Obviously, it's not. But like to me, it could have gone either way. I really could feel
I'm
like
with Ryan. This was right off the bat, sweet, kind of doughy, like think hard, like big pretzel, doughy, kind of.
Eddie, woody,
Yeah.
nutty.
But primarily this natural sweetness that was to it that was just really like raisiny kind of in some ways.
definitely right.
It wasn't too long before in came some baking spices to make it a little drier. And I really couldn't describe it any other way. I mean, if I had to say overall, kind of meaty.
Mhm.
I mean, I know that this is made with, it's again, Peronis are pretty intense cigar. These are not meant to be that, but after all, this is Toscano company, so they know how to make pretty rich cigars, and even something that's not intended to be that. I found them even with all the sweetness to it, still, it really starts to power up the deeper you got into the cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what else surprised me? The finish. It's clean as a whistle.
Yeah, it's very
There's a
bright.
very clean, bright
Very
finish to it. So, like, this to me is almost any time of the day, right? I could smoke this at like
Yeah.
9 o'clock in the morning with a cup of coffee. And then again, I could see like maybe enjoying this with a glass of Sauvignon Blanc or a nice like dry white at the end of the night. White wine for those who are not initiated. It's a milder cigar, but yet on the flavor spectrum, it's not, right? So on the nicotine spectrum, anybody could handle this as far as nicotine, right? Strength is concerned. But flavor wise, it's not mild at all.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. You kind of, when you said raisin, you changed everything for me a little bit, because I thought before that it was cookie-ish in flavor. And I say that about a lot of cigars I know, but this was, I thought it was more shortbread, but maybe it's more like
No, you're
you think it's shortbread?
not shortbread, but I
Oatmeal
think
raisin?
you were closer on the cookie thing. That maybe it's that oatmeal raisin kind of
Oatmeal raisin.
dough.
you know?
Again, and go back to the doughy. Cookie falls into that spectrum again. There's that raisin
Guys, you're gonna get me
deal
hungry.
to it. I already am.
I
mean, I know how to eat.
We're getting
I freaking missed Girl Scout cookie season.
Are we
I kept
getting
thinking
to-
next time I'd catch him next time, and now it's too late.
we're getting pizza after this. It's 7. We're getting
Right.
pizza after this. But no, for real. I mean, like, again, this is not up there for me with a Padron Anniversario or anything like that, but this is just good. And it's way better than it has any business being.
Yeah, would you
It
say?
really is.
Would you all say? Can we have a consensus that the cigar surprised us,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
and in a good way?
In a good
Yeah,
way.
very
I
good.
think there's one downside though that we have to mention. I don't necessarily want to call it a downside so much as I want to say it's kind of something to be mindful of. And the shape is not without its challenges. So draw is going to be the big one. So it can be a hard draw. And in this case, or the case I should say, the case of the first one of these I smoked, it's a good enough draw as opposed to a good draw. This one is a little bit more open, but because it goes from this really large foot to this really small head that you're trying to draw. I mean, this is like punch cutting something, so that already you're narrowing the channel through which you're drawing air and drawing smoke, and it can create it can be tight. And one of the downsides of that is that you can end up drawing tar through it.
Yeah.
And don't be surprised if if it's a little tough to puff. Don't be surprised if you see a little bit of tar buildup. That's just by virtue of the fact of its shape.
Yeah.
But this is the curse of the perfecto, right? And so there's a little bit of an inconsistency from cigar to cigar when it comes to draw, but overall it should be good enough. And this one is actually better than what I've had before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this isn't really a shot necessarily against this cigar as much as the overall shape,
So the advantage is, as Pulo said about having the smaller diameter head, is this cigar is eminently clenchable.
Yeah. See, yeah.
I see. What I went back to was thinking of The Man with No Name. He smoked these, right? Clint Eastwood in those movies. You'd always see him with a hat down and the cigar clenching out of his mouth. Try that with a 6x60 and, it's a different story. So
Sure. Yeah, it reminds this shape always reminds me of like Bugs Bunny would have pulled out of a box,
the mobster Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah.
But
But
it's a throwback shape.
it's a fun little size, and as much as I don't like tapered cigars, I could easily see myself picking up a box of these.
100%.
Easily.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Thank you so much for tuning in for our panel review on the Toscano Brenta. And make sure you tune in next time to see what we're reviewing next. We'll see you guys in the next video.